Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Who Would Win in a Fight. Tonight's episode is going to be Mayweather against Pacquiao. Now I know they've already fought, but I really want to pretend that fight didn't happen. I know I can't do it, and I know a lot of people out there as well just want to pretend what they saw didn't actually happen because in the end it utterly disappointed me anyway. I don't know what you might think, but I was left feeling a little bit deflated afterwards. So we all can probably agree that the time they fought in 2015 last year, it was a bit too late. I personally think if they were to fight again, hopefully there won't be a rematch. It would be the same result. Mayweather will control the fight just about. I think he won quite clearly, but only by maybe 2 rounds. But he didn't dominate Pacquiao. At any stage did he dominate Pacquiao. There was a touch of what Apollo Creed said after the first Rocky fight. I won, but I didn't beat him. And I think there is a little bit of that with the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. But what if they'd have fought at different times in their careers? What if they'd have met earlier? What if they'd have met in 2000? What if they'd have met in 2005? What if they'd have met in 2010? Would the outcome have been any different? I'm going to try and see if I can come to a conclusion. We look back at Mayweather's career, we can see a couple of outstanding fights. Arturo Gatti in 2005. We have the Marquez fight in 2009. He just come off, I think it was an 18-month layoff. And then we have the Canelo Alvarez fight in 2013. All 3 fights, very impressive. In different ways. The Arturo Gatti fight was one of the most aggressive performances, and it was just like a surgeon. It was pure precision. I found it tough to watch. I like Gatti. Who doesn't? Great warrior. Pity what happened in the end. And in regards to that fight, it was just one of those performances where Mayweather just went to town on him and he just picked him apart. With Marquez, slightly different. Fought a little bit more on counter punching, but again took Marquez to school. And when you consider, I know it doesn't work, I know if A beats B and B beats C, it doesn't mean that A beats C. You know, it's not a straight line when it comes to fighters. So the fact that Mayweather handled Marquez so easily, it doesn't necessarily mean that he, at his peak, he would have handled Pacquiao as easily as he handled Marquez. Alvarez, different kettle of fish, much bigger fighter. I think really the heat was on Mayweather and he reacted accordingly, put on a fantastic performance. With Pacquiao, a couple of fights stand out. 2004 against Marquez, the first fight. Now I know he wasn't a clear victor in it, and there's still a lot of controversy about that fight, and people think Marquez beat him. But it was one of Pacquiao's main breakout fights. Then we have the Cotto fight in 2009. And then we have the Mosley fight in 2011. He handled Cotto very, very well. I think that was Pacquiao at his peak. I don't think he got any better than that. That was as good as he was ever going to fight. And then we have Mosley in 2011. Again, he handled Mosley a lot better than what Mayweather handled Mosley, albeit it was a while after Mayweather had fought Mosley, so maybe there had been a big decline in Mosley between fighting Mayweather and fighting Pacquiao, but still, he handles Mosley very, very easy. Considering the trouble that Mosley gave Mayweather in the early rounds. Now, if they were to fight maybe around 2005, 2006, maybe even a little bit earlier, this is what I give. I give the best chance to Pacquiao in some ways in beating Mayweather around 2003, 2004, just before the time he fought Marquez. Nacio Bernstein, the coach for Pacquiao, the coach for Marquez, before everyone goes down my throat, the coach for Marquez says that the more they fought Pacquiao, the easier it got to fight him. The more training he did and the more coaching he got under the tutelage of Freddie Roach, the more refined and the more finesse was added to his boxing skills. And as Bernstein noted, it became easier to fight Pacquiao because he was easier at the time, whereas the first fight, he was just like a pure wildcat. And again, one of the reasons why I think Pacquiao would have given Mayweather much more of an argument back then was for the same reason Maidana gave Mayweather trouble. Mayweather works off the repetition, the timing of other fighters, and all his pad work is all about time and anticipating a series of punches and a routine. Nothing is unexpected when it comes to Mayweather in the ring, except for guys like Maidana who just throw shots that most boxers don't. Wild, unorthodox punches, you can't time that. And that's why Mayweather struggled against Maidana, and that's why I think Mayweather would have struggled more against Pacquiao. It would have been a little bit more of a puzzle for him to figure out, because the timing would have been a much harder issue for him. Speed would have been on Pacquiao's side, absolutely no doubt about that, but we all know in the end, timing beats speed. Pacquiao, a lot of attributes to be very, very in awe of. Great speed, two-handed speed. Obviously, his big punch is his left hand. He's straight left. But again, with Pacquiao, funny, he's not a notable hooker, nor is he a notable fighter to use the uppercut. And in some ways, Mayweather is the opposite of Pacquiao. Not very good with combination punches. Well, I'm sure he is, but he just doesn't utilize combination punches. It's very rare to see Mayweather fly off 3 or 4 punches in a fast combo. He had the chance against Alvarez, I think, in round 7, but he still pulled back a little bit. So whereas they both have amazing qualities, there are 1 or 2 chinks in both fighters' armory. Both guys, great chin. I actually gave Mayweather the edge in the chin department, considering the blow he took from Mosley and the punch he took at the end of the 3rd round on the second fight with Maidana. Mayweather is as tough as they come. And if it was an alley fight, 3:30, after a nightclub, 2 boys drunk, fighting over a bag of chips outside Supermax, I would give it to Mayweather all day long. I think he showed Pacquiao way too much respect in the second fight. So, just to sum up, if they had fought, I still think Mayweather would win. But I think it would have been far more action-packed. I mean, it wouldn't have been very hard to be more action-packed than what we saw last May 2015. But to also suggest, I'm going to throw a suggestion out there, is that if it had been Mayweather that night in 2009, I think it was November 2009, if it had been Mayweather in the corner instead of Miguel Cotto fighting Pacquiao that night, I think that was also, for me, that was Pacquiao's triumphant performance. That was as good as he got, considering how good Cotto was and Cotto has been since. I thought, and a lot of people thought, that would have been, that fight was a bridge too far. He was up against a full-blown welterweight. What would he do when he felt Cotto's punches? Well, we got the answer unequivocally. I'd like to have seen Cotto make it to the end of the 12th round, but alas, Pacquiao was just on fire that night. And he took a bit of punishment in the earlier rounds from Cotto as well, but he just stood up to it so well. So again, for me, Mayweather wins hands down every night of the week. I don't want to see a rematch. I don't think it's necessary. I think it'll be the exact same outcome. It'll bore everyone to death. But I think maybe if they'd have fought 12, 13 years earlier, I think Pacquiao would have had a really, really good chance. Still think Mayweather would have won, but there would have been a chance for Pacquiao, just pure aggression and the awkward nature of his fighting, to steal a march on Mayweather and maybe eke out a points decision, because he was never going to be able to knock out Mayweather. The fights against Diego Chavez and Maidana just proved that, and the one punch. I know it was only one punch against Mosley, but we saw how quickly Mayweather reacted. So hate to break a few hearts with my theory and my opinion, but for me it's Mayweather all day long. Until next time, goodbye.